Going live in 5, 4.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our 5th eLancs webinar. I'm Becky Livesey, the Head of Digital Communications, and we hope this will be as interesting as our previous ones. Just to start with a little bit of housekeeping, there is a chat box in the right-hand side where you can write any questions throughout the webinar. Any burning questions that you've got, just pop them in there and we'll aim to answer them, or as many of them as we can as we go along. If there's any that we can't answer today, we will take them away and we endeavour to answer them as soon as we can. They'll be put into our FAQ section on the EPR SharePoint site where you can read through them later. And there's also a new function on there as well where you can enter some questions at a later date and we'll also answer them for you. I'll pop a link to that SharePoint site in the chat box for you throughout this webinar as well. And just so you know, this is being recorded. It will be published on SharePoint as well. So if you'd like to share it with your colleagues afterwards or you'd like to watch it back if you've got to pop off, that's no problem at all. You can watch it again in your own time. So as you probably are aware, today's webinar is all about the ELHT's digital transformation journey. Very challenging, but also very exciting, and how we're taking the lessons learned from the introduction of our new digital tools, Patientrack and BadgerNet, to help ensure the smooth running of the Cerner implementation on the 12th of November this year. So without further ado, I'll pass you over to Mark Johnson, our Chief Information Officer, to give you an overview of where we're up to in the eLancs programme of work and what's coming next. Over to you, Mark.
Thanks very much, Becky. That's great. It's great to be here again. You know, we've got 141 days left before we go live. When you say it quick, it doesn't seem like a long time at all. But before I go on, I just want to say we're just over halfway now, and a massive thank you to everybody that's contributed. We've had quite a few hurdles which we've got across really well. We've had loads and loads of engagement. We've got about 600 odd ambassadors. We've had people coming to all our events, and the amount of work that the teams have done to prepare the EPR system for Go Live has been phenomenal. And I think a lot of people have gone above and beyond. So firstly, I just want to say thank you, and thanks for all the people that are going to help us, because part of me being here is to say we're asking people now to start coming and joining us on this journey and start taking part. So we're going to be asking for floor walkers that we'll train up to spend time with us and then help the clinical staff and other staff around the trust when we go live in 141 days. I might have mentioned that already. And we're also still developing our ambassador program. So we'd like you to be involved in that as well. And you can contact Becky and the team after this. So just to really give you an update, as we said, eLancs isn't just about EPR, it's about the whole digital journey that we're doing. And it's amazing to see Jamie and Andrew here who are going to talk to you, as Becky said, about some of the lessons we're learning as we go live with some major innovations. But there's two main pieces of work that are going on at the moment. The first one is technology and testing. So our teams are building new networks. You'll see people around putting new cables in all over the place. There was some discussions on Twitter around the new EBME networks, but we're also building the new high-speed networks around the hospital. And we're also building loads of new kit. So we've just taken delivery of about 120 new laptops for the new medicine trolleys. All the equipment for theatres is starting to arrive. You'll see estates on your wards and in your clinical areas where you've got trolleys, retrofitting devices to help you access the systems. And you'll see more and more kit being deployed. Our teams have been out seeing what you need, and we've put a lot of orders in. So hopefully it'll all arrive in time. We think it will. The other thing we're doing is testing. So we've built the system and we're now linking all the existing systems to it to see that all the messages work and that it all works, it's all interfaced correctly. So for the next few months, will be lots and lots of testing and running through patient pathways to make sure that patients will smoothly flow through the Cerner system. So that's one of the big things we're doing. The second one is training and go live preparation. So 141 days, might have mentioned it, it's when we go live. We're going to actually start training you all in September. We've got 20 training rooms identified. There'll be 20 odd trainers around there. We've got some special software to help us, and we'll be asking you to register for your training pretty soon. Now, we've got trainers on this discussion, and Adele's going to have a conversation with you about that. But really start thinking about training. Start thinking about, can you actually log into systems? So Becky's going to be putting some comms out at the moment to make sure that all your accounts are up to date, and then we can start then giving you usernames and passwords, etc. For the systems. And also we're doing a thing called the go live preparation. So we're working with the chief operating officer, the medical director, and all the teams to say, are all our ducks lined up for us ready to go live in 141 days? So loads of work going. This is a time when the tech will happen in the background. You'll see people on your wards, clinical areas, but behind there's a lot of work now for the rest of the trust to do to really get ready, to get trained, and to get prepared. The reason we're doing it like we're doing it is because we have learned a lot of the things. We have learned a lot. Sorry, Becky just put a thing up, said how many days. I might have mentioned 141, still there. We've learned a lot of, we've been around to loads and loads of hospitals and looked at how they did this, and we're setting up our systems so we don't fall into the same bear traps that they fell into. But some of the great experience we've had with Patientrack and with Badger is really useful for us to build on. So I'm going to hand over to Jamie Swales now, who's going to talk to you about the lessons that we've learned when we put Patientrack in a few months ago. So over to you, Jamie.
Thanks, Mark. Hi, everybody. I'm Jamie Swales. I'm one of the lead ACPs in the acute care team, and I was privileged enough to be the clinical lead in implementing Alcidian EOBS, as we all know it, out and about on the ward settings. So what is EOBS? It's capturing observations electronically. It's a system that allows you to view the observations you've inputted on both desktops and iPads, and that's a real selling point for the system. It highlights and counts down to due observations. So when you're out in the clinical areas, you can actually see when your observations are due. It allows you to view the chart and not just see the observations in a numerical value, which I think is really helpful. And that's what we use to as clinicians, seeing that obs chart in that view. And we went live in October 2021. So some lessons we learned, Gemma, who's on this live chat, was the project manager from IT, and we'll be answering any questions you've got in the chat. So what we learned when we went live, so we really built a working relationship with the developers, and we built that quite early on. And what that allowed us to do was they supported us in developing the system, altering it to what we needed as an organisation, and helped with the training and rollout, and we've still got ongoing support. I was on a call with them yesterday, so we've still got that relationship going. What we did well, I think, as a team, is we identified clinical engagement early on, which aided in the development and building and testing of the system, and testing of the system was really important. Any electronic system you implement will carry some risk, but the point of the testing is to try and mitigate them the best you can, and that can be really time consuming, so we had lots of clinical engagement in that. And what it also did is, because we built relationships quite early on and we identified key stakeholders, it also meant we weren't using lots of clinicians' time, and we used them for when we needed them rather than throughout the whole project. And again, the clinician feedback around that was we knew what questions we needed them to answer, and we got that answer very quickly. Another point for me, and this is a shout out to the IT training team, and Adele's on this live chat today, they were fundamental in the success of the rollout of this system. They knew the system inside out. They had a real flexible approach to training for it. They were delivering the training in the clinical areas. They developed training videos and user guides, and they did group sessions, video training, and one-to-one. And I know the clinicians in the ward areas really appreciated that. If I had the opportunity again, and I've been helping with the Cerner building, what I would use is super users. What we did is, because we were rolling out quite quickly, we didn't really forge them super users in the clinical areas, and in hindsight that is something that I would do, and I know that's the way we're going with Cerner, so that's really good to hear. Going forward with Cerner, so we're working alongside Cerner. Alcidion, so the EOB system, is going to stay in use with Cerner, and there'll be a contextualized link at the top of the Cerner page for you to input the observations. But the good thing we have built is a feed into Cerner, so them observations will be available in Cerner, and you can see that as one source of truth for that patient's records. It will allow clinicians to view it in context with the wider patient record, and I think that's really important as clinicians. So when you're on the ward rounds, you're out there doing your medication rounds, you'll be able to see them observations alongside what you're trying to do. Next steps for Alcidion and EOBS is a system called Smart Page, and what that will do, it'll automatically alert deteriorating patients to the acute care team once the observations have been inputted. So on the whole, it was a fun journey, shall I say. What we're living and breathing with Cerner, we lived and breathed with EOBS. You will come out the other end and you will really see the impact EPR has for patients. So I'm going to hand over to Andrew Lumsden now, the digital midwife, to talk about BadgerNet. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. Hi, yes, I'm Andrew Lumsden. I'm the digital midwife in maternity. Historically, we in maternity use pink notes, hospital notes, and women carry their own hospital records in an A4 book. BadgerNet, which we implemented in November and December last year, is a full maternity electronic patient record. So ultimately, all of our documentation in maternity is going to be in BadgerNet. We set it up with interfaces with PAS, with ICE, and to our baby heart rate monitors. And there's another section of it called Badger Notes, which replaces the woman's handheld written record with a handheld digital record. One of the benefits of BadgerNet, it's got a single pregnancy record. When we went live, we did it with our local maternity system, which includes Royal Preston, Morecambe Bay, and Blackpool. So all 4 trusts are part of the single pregnancy record. But more than that, there's nationwide, everybody with BadgerNet signs up to the single pregnancy record, which means if a woman moves around the country, the pregnancy record moves with her. Most of our referrals and all of our summaries are now sent electronically to GPs and other people, and then automatically up to the clinical portal. So we're not sending things out by post. And currently, the only paperwork we really need to fill in is consent forms and prescription charts. So with Cerner moving across to electronic prescribing and administration, that will hopefully disappear as well. I'm going to echo quite a lot of what Jamie said. Some of our lessons learned, firstly around IT equipment. One of the things we found, we needed to make sure we had enough sockets and data points. We need a lot of computers. We need to make sure the Wi-Fi was fine. One of the things as well was getting the equipment into the areas early and make sure it works correctly. We had a few problems where laptops didn't turn on, people couldn't access certain things. So again, it was making sure people can access their logins and all the different systems that we're going to use before go live. The next thing that really was quite important was ensuring that our admin processes were mapped. As this is key to most areas. Initially, we didn't forget, but didn't spend as much time as we should looking at the admin processes. And as we moved close to go live, we realised we needed to, and that was key to make sure that the go live was more successful. Again, it's ensuring there's a robust communication strategy, both internally and externally with external stakeholders. We obviously have a lot of work with GPs, what information was sent to them, and we needed to improve our communication as we move forward. It was quite difficult because obviously we're still in the middle of the pandemic and then at Christmas, but it's ensuring there's a robust strategy. The next bit was about testing, so it's ensuring that clinical testing goes alongside the technical testing. There was interfacing, so interfaces with PAS and those sorts of things, that was tested technically. If we send this, will it go? Yes. But it was making sure that from a clinical perspective, if I admitted a woman, did she show up in BadgerNet? If I discharged her, did she fall out of BadgerNet? And then if there was any other technical changes taking place, making sure that there was more clinical testing to make sure nothing else had changed or broken. Again, for training, Adele's team were key. We tried to get as many super users as possible with staffing everywhere, but specifically in maternity. The IT trainers were key for our training and then also for our go live. Moving on to the go live, as I said, we went live with antenatal bookings in November, so that was kind of community based more than anything in GPs. And so what we did, we banked up all the midwives, so there was always 2 midwives at the initial bookings. And as people felt more confident, then we stepped that back. We went live with intrapartum, so on the birth suites in December. And one of the lessons we learned was having enough floor walkers or people walking around, being available. Clinical, yes, but also non-clinical. The IT trainers again were key. So somebody couldn't log in, needed a password changing, didn't have access to patient center, and they were key for those sorts of things. And also providing that support 24 hours a day for all systems. One of the things we did was that we had a support hub with a telephone number, so they could speak to a clinician, an IT person, and we also had a Teams chat open for 2 weeks, which basically meant anyone could just drop in, ask a question, get some support, and then move on and continue to be able to work. Another lesson learned was that support continues. We had it for 2 weeks, but potentially continuing that longer, and making sure that the generic help desk, so if people are ringing up generically moving forward, there's enough support there as well. I think that's basically it for me. If there's any questions, please put them in the chat, and I'm now going to pass over to Adele St. Pierre Roberts. Adele, you're muted.
Sorry, not a good start there. Sorry, so my name's Adele and I'm the EPR training lead, who alongside our current team of 10 experienced trainers will be delivering your training on our brand new electronic patient record. This new way of working will affect the whole trust, and as such we will be offering different courses depending on your job role. Following all the FSVs or the future state validations and working alongside our Cerner colleagues and staff throughout the trust, we're developing a training plan that will enable you to carry out your job role using the new EPR. The training team are currently busy creating lesson plans, building training materials and training videos in order to provide you with the tools to be able to carry out your role effectively. It's also given us an opportunity to look at how we currently work and how we would deliver training to our new staff in the future. Working alongside the learning development team, we're looking at how we incorporate Cerner training into the corporate induction days, so that all new staff members coming into post will receive their Cerner training as part of that induction process. Each staff member throughout the trust has an important role to play by ensuring Cerner embeds into the organisation as smoothly as possible, and that you receive the training you require to be able to carry out your job role. Our paper notes are going to be phased out, and throughout the hospital we're going to go into a brand new technological era. Instead of a pen and paper, you will now be documenting with the EPR using varying IT equipment. The Trust is investing a significant amount of money, as Mark mentioned, in upgrading our current IT equipment to be able to meet the demand Cerner will create for the use of devices. This is an ideal time for all of us to actually update our basic IT literacy. The Trust runs a number of basic IT literacy courses which can help you gain confidence before you reach your Cerner training. Our learning colleagues will be able to assist you with this if required, and there's also currently a link on the front page of OLE giving you more information. Training is going to be delivered to over 8,000 ELHT colleagues by either classroom, virtually or e-learning, and will be mainly held on the 2 main hospital sites at Blackburn and Burnley, with some courses taking place at our satellite locations including Pendle, Clitheroe and Accrington. Training will commence on Monday the 12th of September and will run for 8 weeks up to our go live date on Saturday the 12th of November. We aim to give staff as much hands-on time as possible, which will allow you to see how the system will look and feel and where you'll be able to find and document information relevant to your role. The training courses we offer will be based on your job role. Course timings will vary. Some courses will require a full day's training, whereas others may be a couple of hours and viewer-only course. Due to the rapid rollout, we are unable to offer department by department training, and this instead will be done through staff groups. However, we will run through scenarios that are relevant to your role to give you the opportunity to see how the patient record will look and where you can capture your activity, and allow you the chance to also ask questions along the way. At the end of your training, you will be asked to complete a short assessment to check your learning, and it also gives you opportunity to rebook on a further course should you feel you need it. When we go live in November, we understand there's going to be a lot of apprehension, but the training team alongside our Cerner colleagues will be there to support 24 hours a day to answer any queries you may have. We're all in this as a team, and there will always be someone there to support you should you need it. Bookings will be open through the Learning Hub page from the 11th of July. This will allow bookings to be made ahead so that rosters can be planned to allow staff time to attend courses. As with all core mandatory courses, once you've successfully completed your Cerner course, this will be kept on your Learning Hub record of learning. For those of you that do enjoy technology and you do want to help embed the new system into your department, as Mark mentioned, we are looking for super users across the trust. These will be the go-to people within your area. We will need staff from all departments to be the first point of call to help troubleshoot and support fellow colleagues. Whilst we don't expect you to know everything, you will be provided extra training to help you carry out this support role. If you are interested in becoming a super user, please email systems.trainingqueries@elht.nhs.uk for more details. Thank you very much, and I'm going to pass you back over to Becky.
Thanks, Adele, and thank you to all our brilliant presenters who all did a great job. I know everybody was really nervous, but it was really useful to hear from everybody, and also the training update, which might have been sort of the first touch point of training that everybody has heard, and hopefully now you have a bit more of an understanding of what's coming and when. There's not any questions in the chat box, but if anybody does have any questions, it's still open. If you'd like to pop anything in, we've still got the time to answer them. So please do if you've got anything that you'd like to know on the back of those presentations. As we've mentioned, you know, this is all a learning curve. It's a learning curve for everybody. And as much as we want to ensure the smooth running of Cerner, there's always going to be bumps in the road. And we just need everybody to get involved, be curious about this system, learn, attend the training. We're all here to answer any questions that you've got. There's lots of resources, and we just want to make this a huge success because it's going to be brilliant for our patient care and the way that we work together. Another thank you to the teams and colleagues who've been involved in the Stop, Start, Continue sessions so far. They've been going on over the last few weeks. They're continuing over the next few weeks. It's a really, really good chance, if you've been invited and haven't been yet, to see the workflows, what processes and activities we'll be stopping, what we'll be starting to do in Cerner, and what we'll be continuing to do if it's not quite ready for us in Cerner just yet. Over the next few weeks, the eLancs team are aiming to visit all of our sites, wards, departments, offices to talk to colleagues about the system. Last Monday, the walk around was in Blackburn, so thank you so much to everybody who came to see us and speak to us and look at the system, and to Amanda Clays for organising it as well. During these walk arounds, you can ask any questions, you can see the system in action and take some free merchandise, so it's always a great opportunity. We do, as I mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, have a SharePoint site. I've popped the link in the chat. It's really informative. It sort of acts as our newsletter. It has lots of information on there, and it's continuously updated with FAQs, videos, demos, our latest news. So just keep an eye on that, bookmark it if you want to, and have a look at it at your own leisure. We also, from a comms perspective, have dedicated eLancs social media channels as well. So we have Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. So if you are on those channels, please follow us @_eLancs. We're posting on there all the time. So please follow and interact with us if you are on those channels. Of course, if there's any other ways that you do want to receive information, please let us know, because we're always open to exploring other ways, particularly those colleagues who don't necessarily use computers very often. How can we communicate with those people? Please let us know. So we've just got a few questions that have come through on the chat. I can't see if they've been responded to. Can we book the EPR training as a department and individually, and when will the dates in September be made available? Is that one for you, Adele?
Yes, it is. So the bookings are going to open on Monday, the 11th of July.
Brilliant, thank you. Could you add the email address for super users? Does that mean the eLancs super users, or is that one? Is that
for us as well? Yeah, it can. I'll pop the email address in there.
No problem. Thank you very much. And we've just got another one here. Sorry, it's just loading on my screen. Will admin staff be trained fully? Again, another one for you, Adele.
All admin staff are going to be trained. Obviously, we've got a medical secretaries training course. We've got a booking centres training course. Again, once you log on to book your training, there'll be a bit of a write-up on the course to make sure that it is relevant to your job role.
Thanks, Adele. I'll just see if there's any other training related ones. One for you, Mark, probably. How do we know if our PCs and monitors have been checked for compatibility with Cerner?
Hi. All the PCs are compatible with Cerner because Cerner runs a slightly different. It uses a slightly different way of working. So actually, you don't access Cerner running on your PC. It runs on the main server, Cerner server. That's hard to say. So actually, the PCs are all compatible. Now your monitors. What we're doing, you'll see we're replacing all the square monitors in clinical areas in the trust with rectangular 22-inch ones. So all the monitors will be replaced. I think we've got about 3,000 monitors to replace. The team are already out there, and you'll see them on the walls, you'll see them in clinics, and you'll also see them actually adding additional machines where we can fit them in. Biggest problem we have is space. I'm sure Andrew will agree with that. Sometimes it's you don't have enough space to put things, so we're looking at very different types of platforms to use. So everything will be compatible. It can be quicker as well, which is a real benefit, and your screens will be replaced. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I can't see any other questions coming through. I can see that Adele is currently responding to a question about online and remote training. I'll leave Adele to answer that one in the chat box. So I'm just wondering if any of our presenters have anything else to add. I'm getting some shaking of heads. Okay, so I will close the chat box once Adele has responded to that question. And I'd just like to say a huge thank you to everybody for joining us today. I know everybody is super busy. These will continue over the next few months, so we'll be sending out communications for our next one. And we hope to see you there. Thank you, everyone.